5 episodes in and we're finally going to talk about the weapon of one of my most played games. Ah yes, that amount of time. Yeah, Team Fortress 2 is one of my favorite games. The characters are goofy, every role has its purpose, and the game is just, as the name really promotes it, about teamwork. And even certain weapons you can use will promote teamwork to its fullest. My name is tf2 and I will rate the force of nature. A dual belt, fast firing, totally knockbacking, on both sides, shotgun. This gun is famous for its knockback. Some people would even rage to the moment they got hit. And to be honest, I don't blame them. People getting yeeted from the map is one of the funniest, or annoying, depends if you're the person that gets yeeted, moments in the game. But yeah, on today's episode we will rate and talk about the force of nature. We specifically will talk about the stats, feeling and usability, design, sounds, loadouts and MVM. But first, let's talk about the history of the game. So Team Fortress 2 is a team-based shooter. What is a team-based shooter? So a team-based shooter is a shooter that's focused on teamwork. I kid you not, it's that simple. Some game examples. Well, you have Team Fortress. You have... Okay, this game had potential, but Blizzard blew it up. And finally, the recent one is Marvel Rivals. Well, Team Fortress 2 was actually one of the first team-based shooters. The game was released on 10 October 2007. This was one of the games in the Orange Box, aka the best game collection you could ever buy. Like, it's still good. You get Half-Life 2, Episode 1 and 2, Portal and Team Fortress 2. So the story is very simple. You're one of two teams, blue and red, and you just go into a map doing objectives to defeat the other team. Actually, there's a lot more story that finally got a conclusion on last December by a comic book they published. But let's go back to the game. You have 9 classes and today we mostly will talk about the Scout. The Scout on release had only 3 weapons, but a genius move from Valve, they added updates with new weapons, and Scout was one of the first ones, and they added one of the most unique double barreled shotguns. So the Force of Nature was released on February 2009 in the Scouts update, what was the 4th big update Team Fortress 2 had. You can craft the weapon by making a class token, a primary token and finally a scrap metal. The only problem with this crafting recipe is it randomizes the primary weapon you get. But you know what? Screw it, let's go gambling! Oh dang it, but the easier way of getting the Force of Nature is by getting the Scout Milestone 1 achievement. And you get that achievement by getting 10 Scouts achievements, which is easy. But let's look at the weapons graph. So we have more info than usual, and I will say, you can thank Team Fortress 2 Wiki for the extensive testing. So the base damage is 5.4 per pellet with 12 pellets per shot. So the maximum damage for a Force of Nature can do is 113 damage. And I know you're thinking, but Evil, those numbers doesn't add up. Which I will reply with, good catch. So in Team Fortress there is a thing called damage modifier. A lot of games has a mechanic called damage fall off, which is how far you hit an enemy, how less damage your weapon does. In Team Fortress 2 there is the same mechanic, but there's also a mechanic called distance modifier. There are different distance modifiers for each weapon, but we will focus on only hit scans right now. So instead of 100% damage on point blank and going lower to 50% or even lower, that really depends on the distance of the enemy, Team Fortress 2 has a specific distance that gives 100% damage. That is 512 units. What is 512 units? I have no idea. But it's probably medium range. and if the enemy is closer than that, you will do more damage till the point blank range, which does 150% damage. And the force of nature does even have a higher point blank damage, that is a whole whopping 175% damage, which if all the pellets hit will do 113 damage. Okay, this sounds complicated, so let's take a small break. Okay, is our brain working again? Okay, are you ready? Okay, let's continue. So next thing is the damage modifier because of the crits. Yeah, we're not done with the damage modifier. So yeah, this game has random crits. Actually, there are two different crits. I will not perfectly explain how random crits work, but it's around how much damage you do in one life, how more crits you have. It's weird, but don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, a crit does 3 times the amount of damage and will ignore damage modifier, which means you will do the max damage unless you have bad spread, which we will talk about soon. There is also mini crits. Mini crits only happen when a certain criteria is met and cannot be random. One example on the criteria is the Scout's Final War, that can make enemy marked to death, which makes incoming damage towards the enemy mini crit. Okay, with all the damage being done, let's talk about the range and spread. So it has a decent range and spread, like the spread is purely random except one pellet. That one is on the dead center. But the shotgun really needs to be used in close range because of its special ability. So the special ability slash feature of the force of nature is a knockback. So if you shoot an enemy from point blank or extremely close range, you does a knockback damage on them. And this depends on the class, or to be exact, the character. So the scout is a light person, and if you shoot a scout with the force of nature, he will be yeeted. But the heavy, which the name already implies, he is freaking heavy and will not go so far. Also, if you're in the air, you will also get knocked back on your weapon. So if you shoot in front of you, you will stand dead still in the air and fall down. But if you shoot under you, that knockback will push you more into the air. Just like an extra jump if you already use your double jump. Just like a triple jump. And finally we are going to talk about the ammo. So the force of nature is a double barrel shotgun that only has 2 shots per reload. The force of nature uses shells that looks bigger than the regular scatter gun. It also has 32 shells in reserve and 3 different ammo pickups. There's the small one that only gives you 25% reserve ammo. There's also a medium one that gives you 50% and the large one that gives you 100% ammo. And finally, if you reload the force of nature, you will reload 2 shots, even if you only use one of the shots. And a small note, so the random spread and random crits can be turned off in community servers. These are not casual servers, so if you only play on casual, you can ignore this note. Using this weapon will give you a smile. Not a power hungry smile, a big gremlin smile. So the force of nature does not fully kill. Mainly because of the knockback, yeeting people before the second shot even hits. But this knockback will give you an edge in disorder and just becoming an annoying person. It's really fun to do. Also, there is a dopamine rush if you get an environmental kill, but these moments are rare. And the usability? Well, the force of nature is really a support weapon. And I know what you're thinking. How does this weapon help your team? Well, it all lies inside the ability to knock back. Just as before, you can disorder people, shoot them in the backline to make them more vulnerable to your team, and make them focus you, instead of a bigger threat. I will say this will work on weaker enemies. Enemies like the soldier and the heavy are kinda resistant towards it because of the weight, and especially the heavy who can easily return fire. And one last thing, this weapon makes Demo Knight's life more painful. Mainly because of the knockback, but be warned, a good Demo Knight can still catch you, so be careful attacking them.
So hi guys, I fully forgot about one important thing in the usability, and that is the point of defending an objective. The force of nature is really great at defending and attacking a point, mainly because you can shoot people off the point, so you can progress or defend the full point. This is amazing.
I love this weapon design. So the force of nature is a sort of shotgun, but they put a lot of details on the barrel. Like, look how big they are. They are goofy as but funny enough, like an enemy or an ally with a keen eye can see that you're using a force of nature. The other parts of the weapon also looks interesting. Like, it looks compact but also big at the same time. It really gives you a feeling of an idea of the small super shotgun. Except of doing mass damage, it just eats the enemy. Now let's look at the first person model. Just as the third person model, it looks compact but also big, especially with the big barrels. Like, looking at the barrels from first person, it almost looks like it's too big for the weapon. Same as the third person model, but the first person model really shows it. And the first person animation looks really decent. Every time you shoot the weapon, it has a little knockback in your hands. The reloading looks really good. The scout presses are switched to remove the shells, and the moment the weapon opens, you can see the big shells that gets removed. Then the scouts put some new shells into it. While the animation looks meh, especially its hand, like what the fuck is he doing? In general, it's just pretty decent. Last thing on the designs are the reskins of this weapon. So there are two other reskins. We have the festive skin of the weapon that puts Christmas lights on it, and also the unique barrels, which I will say I really love it. And finally we have the Australian, which is the gold variant of the weapon. This weapon is extremely rare from NVM, so don't expect to grind like in Call of Duty. Also, this weapon gives the kill icon a golden glow. Post editing evil here. So I totally forgot about the sound, so I will make it quick about it. The sounds are really good. It has a punch in it which really supports the weapon greatly. So before continuing, I'm not a pro in this game. Yes, I am good, but I don't know what meta is. To be honest, the force of nature is probably not meta. But I made some good loadouts with different playstyles. We have the damage focus build, a support build, and finally an annoying build. All these builds has the idea of flanking in mind, well, except the annoying loadout. So the first loadout is the damage focus build. The damage dealer loadout consists of the force of nature, any pistol, and the default bat or the rap assassin. This loadout focuses on damage and kills, which I said the force of nature is a support weapon and cannot do one-shot kills, and following shots is most of the time useless. So the rest of the loadout will follow up with the force of nature shot, and it's mainly the pistol. You can use the pistol after the enemy is getting heated from the force of nature. You don't need a lot of shots to kill an enemy. Except heavy, but again, the force of nature will make you attacking heavies really difficult. Also, for melee weapons, between the default and the rep assassin, it's mainly how you want to kill the enemy up close. A rep assassin has the ability to throw balls that does bleeding damage to an enemy. So if you don't want to take the gamble of the pistol, you can use the rep assassin. So the second loadout is the support loadout. This loadout consists of the force of nature, mad milk and the final war. This loadout plays like a support. The force of nature to disrupt, the mad milk to heal, and the final war to give targets more damage. This loadout might be one of the loadouts that's good against heavies and definitely against high targets, which is the medic, but I will say this loadout needs to be played more defensively. You can support your team by throwing stuff, but also defend your teammates by knocking back by the force of nature. And the last loadout that I choose is the annoying loadout, which contains of course of the force of nature, bonk and the rep assassin. This is really a meme loadout because the reason is just to annoy people, giving them bleed to annoy, giving them knockback to annoy, and just becoming a full troll. And speaking about being annoying with the force of nature, I asked Ocean's Blue a couple of questions about the force of nature and his opinion on it. And he has a funny opinion about it. So take it away, present, future, past me.
Yeah, my grievances, because I think Whenever I don't see one for a while, it's like, I forget it exists. I forget it exists.
You forget that it exists. To be honest, not a lot of people using it.
I know, and that makes me so fucking happy. But the Force of Nature, like I said, I hate it. I hate it because when you play against it, I feel like you're getting launched, you're getting pushed further away, and sometimes the scatter shot still hits you, even though you've now been pushed what should be out of the range of the scatter gun. That could be due to lag compensation, that could be due to a number of things. The thing of, again though, it goes back to it, is knockback. Knockback is the piss taker with it. I mean, the difference now is as well, with the Pyro, they've changed how some of that knockback works. So sometimes you feel like you can fight against it. Not very well, but slightly. But the Force of Nature, you just get launched at like Mach 5 in the direction he's just shot you from. It's funny, because I will admit, I play stuff like Lucy and that, but when you're trying to attack the scout or something, it's annoying because you get a hit, and then the next shot is already put off because you've been launched to the other end of the room. Ow, that was my desk. If you want to kill medics, just use the regular scatter gun. I know you're saying displace them, but usually the best idea is just get to the medic, shoot him with a meat shot as close as you can. Even if you die, there's a high chance you may one-shot the medic or put the medic into a panic where he will be an easier target for someone else to pick off, and the enemy team may then try to pick you off if they're communicating. That's if they're communicating. If they're not, you've just got 3 shots on the medic. And with the Force of Nature, running into a fucking sentry gun is the that's another negative for you. The Force of Nature versus sentry gun. Who's going to win? Oh yeah, the sentry gun's going to absolutely pummel you.
Yeah, you cannot handle, like even a level 1 sentry gun, even if you try to rotate, it just takes too long. It just takes too long.
So MVM is a PvE game mode, and before we talk about the Force of Nature in MVM, let's just talk about the role of the scout in MVM. So you see the number in the corner. Yes, that. Your only goal on it is to keep it 0 and green. The moment it becomes grey, you fucked up and the team has a legit reason to kick your ass. No, but in all seriousness, you are not the combat guy. Your role, just like PvP, is support. But in MVM you need to do 10 times more support. Your focus is money. Money, money, money. And your upgrades and loadout supports it. So the only loadout that is more important in the PvP support loadout, instead of the pet, you choose the Fan of War. And in MVM there is upgrades, but the loaded screen of the Force of Nature, just ignore it. You just need to focus on the character upgrades and the mount milk. After that you can spend on whatever you want, and if you're doing a good job, the Force of Nature gets some upgrades at the end. So the Force of Nature role in MVM is support. You are not to kill. Actually, only it's doing this after there's no money on the account. So the Force of Nature is really great at knocking back bomb carriers. At least the smaller enemies. Those giants, well, they can go up a little, but that's it. But you can fuck it up by shooting bots towards an objective. Also, the air knockback of the Force of Nature can be obsolete after you get the jump upgrade. This upgrade does not stack on the Force of Nature, so if you shoot under you while in air, it will be the same as before. But all in all, this weapon is pretty decent in MVM.
Sweet. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
The Force of Nature is really an interesting gun. It sounds real well, the weapon looks really unique, it has its place as a support weapon, which is interesting, and the stats really helps its weapon. I will give it an 8 out of 10. This weapon is unique, and I would just say, if you ever play Scout in Team Fortress 2, try to grab this weapon and give it a spin. It will give you a smile while using it. So that's the Force of Nature. Next episode I will review... Actually, I will keep it a secret this time. So guys, thanks for watching and see you guys next time.